Hello, my name's John Kearns. I was on series 14 of Taskmaster, and this is my ultimate episode.
Right, on with the prize task.
On we go, and this time the category is the thing you would most like to have with you on a car journey.
John?
I brought in
There we go.
a sailor's hat.
Yep,
Picture it, yeah?
I am picturing it.
You're driving along,
Yep.
you see a car beside you, you look over at the driver, he's wearing that. Everyone's honking, everyone loves him. You're thinking, you know, is he late for his boat? Kids banging on the window, going, yeah!
Are the kids these days excited by a small bearded man in a sailor hat?
I haven't seen this for about 2 years now, and forgot about the kids banging on the window. I'm not sure what I meant by that.
Just imagine Alex and I are in a car journey now. I'm driving, obviously.
Yeah.
He's sitting there eating crisps.
Yeah.
This is what I perceive to be my reaction.
Okay.
Look at this prick.
Gets a round of applause for that. They've edited that in. I don't remember that on the day. I remember stone cold silence. Well, there we go. I stand by that. That would make you laugh if you saw someone wearing that driving a car. I got 2 points for this. 2 points. To this day, I can't remember what everyone else said, but also Dara won that episode, I remember, and he got to wear that. And so everyone thinks that he looks funny in that. I brought it in. And imagine Dara O'Brien in a car wearing that. It's even funnier. To quote Evelyn Waugh, the cliche is to avoid the cliche. So you immediately think, you know, those kind of fruit mints that you got in an Atlas tin. Remember that as a kid, and I remember feeding my dad sweets as he drove, because he couldn't obviously use his hands. Then you think about car journeys as a kid, but that's the cliche. So then you've got to go one step further, avoid the cliche. So then you're in wacky territory, an extra steering wheel to override the driver if you think they're going the wrong way. But then that feels too forced. So you then have to kind of almost press this weird button in your mind that lets you free. And you go, what would just be funny to have in the car? And you imagine someone driving along. And I think I genuinely thought it'd be funny if you saw someone in a sailor's hat. Or I think the idea was someone who obviously should be driving something else. So, you know, it could be, I don't know, like a fire engine hat or something. You know, like just a hat. If you're driving along and you see someone dancing away listening to a tune, it does cheer you up. And I just thought, you saw someone driving along wearing that, it'd be funny. And picture being sat at a red light, and Greg, he's saying, you know, that he'd think I was a prick if he saw me. And that's strong. Think of your favourite Taskmaster contestants. Think of Greg, think of Alex. Imagine just pulling up next to them at traffic lights. They're wearing that, they don't see you, they're not laughing, maybe quite serious. They're late for work, I don't know. And although Munya is staring at me throughout that clip, and he's really not sure what I'm on about, it deserved more than 2 points. Sabotage.
Hello, Fern.
Hiya.
Hi. Fern, wait for your team.
Oh, sorry, did I shut the door on them?
Yeah.
I'm not really a team player.
Secure the perimeter.
Place half your hands on half your hips.
And leave them there until the second part of the task is over. Also,
The hands that are on hips must only touch those hips.
until the second part of the task is over,
We've to touch each other.
You can touch each other.
you have 2 minutes.
Read it again.
Yeah, I need to...
Right.
Now, I had seen the task, but what I want the viewer to know is I had met Dara O'Brien 15 minutes before this. I've known Fern for a very long time. This is me meeting Dara O'Brien for properly for the first time.
I don't understand this. I thought it meant half of my hand.
Yeah, but collectively.
I think your time starts now.
Like a conga.
Are we conging this, right?
Dara just immediately starts manhandling me. He just whips me around. See, I'm being now. I'm acting like I don't know what's going on.
Take that hand up.
Mines are here.
You're fine, John. So that hand's on that hip.
I thought I didn't understand it, but John really doesn't understand it.
understand it.
Yeah.
With your hands on those hips at all times, put the most sand in the shopping trolley.
You may only move the shopping trolley when there is 1 minute left on the clock.
Oh my God.
You have 10 minutes.
Your time starts now.
So where's the sand?
Exactly. Where is the sand?
Right, let's go look for the sand.
Before we see the team of three, one of them would like me to play in a different video first. So I'm going to show you this.
Okay.
Hi, John.
Yeah.
You okay?
Yeah. God, what the fuck are you doing? Oh man. Sabotage your team in their next task. If your team loses the task, you win 5 points. If your team wins the task, you win 0 points. If your team accuses you of sabotaging the task, you win 0 points.
So the only way you win is if you lose. You understand?
Yeah, well, I do understand, sadly. Now, the big thing about this is there is 3 months between that reveal and us doing the task. And I know for a fact, because I heard from 2 separate people, Dara O'Brien was talking about how thick I was, and it got back to me. He thought I was brushed. It's very clever. Before this, I had to do an intro of walking out the caravan, because the way we met was one of us is in the house, one of us is in the caravan, someone else walks down from the gate outside in. So they said, "Oh John, can we just do your entrance again from the caravan?" So I was sat in the caravan waiting for someone to say action, and then I was going to walk out. I'm sat in the caravan, and then Alex Horne just walks in with the envelope. Of course you think, why me? I would love not to have this. I think I got it because they knew I would be bad at it. Maybe I had given the impression over the days I was here on my own that, I don't know, I'm a bit like Winnie the Pooh. I'll just plod along and, I'll worry about it when I get there. And that's exactly what happened. I did what I had to do, and it's interesting. I've had a few incidences where, well, we'll see, but people have asked me why I did what I did and why didn't I do... Somebody said, why didn't I just have a heart attack? Like keel over, pretend to collapse. I was just like, I mean, I did think, it was genuinely the first thought was fall over. But you've got to get up. Because otherwise, if it's bad, an ambulance is called. And if it's like pretending, they'd be like, what's wrong with you? It got in my head, this.
How fast do you want me to walk?
Well, I'd say faster than this.
OK, well, it was in case. Daft in the middle.
Oh, we need containers.
A bucket or something.
8 minutes.
Hold on, John.
I point at Alex there and just... the thing that's good is I can laugh and Fern and Dara can't see me laughing. But that's quite brazen to point at Alex and be like, yeah, that's funny. Oh my goodness me.
There's a much better way to do it. What did you do?
Look at that, that is clean. I love that. That's so clean.
Why did you do that?
Oh my God, you knock it over. Why did you do that? It goes back on, look.
OK.
Okay.
Sorry, Fern.
Well,
What if we get one of these
Oh, yeah,
plant
take a
pots?
bucket out of there, yeah. How long's left?
This is very...
You got 4 minutes 20.
Oh, brilliant. This is the best plan.
Hold on, John.
Yeah. Why, you coming in?
Yeah, of course. Here we go.
How you doing, Dara?
I mean, I would sooner not be in this exact position for the entire task. Oh, hang on. Watch the bucket of sand behind me.
I don't want to knock over the bucket of sand.
You have to go that way. You have to go that way. John, you have to go that way. John, you have to go that way.
No, I don't want to knock over... No,
You don't want to knock over the bucket of sand. But John, be really careful because you're...
Yeah.
There we go.
Where's the...
Careful.
Where's the hat?
Oh my God, we almost lost the hat.
Again.
Right, another bucket, quick, another bucket.
I don't know if there's time, you know. I think we should just make our way back. Hold on, John.
Under the rope.
Oh, fuck. There's a hole in the bucket.
Oh, no.
I think we should just go back.
I'll go back.
I just want to get...
Well, we can't move it until the 1 minute bell strikes. How long?
Alex.
You've now got 1 minute.
1 minute.
I've done quite well, I think. I've stalled it. I was going to trip over here. I remember thinking that.
See, this is when it all pays off.
Do we have to put it back anyway?
No, you don't have to move it back.
Do we have to
All the information's on the task there, John.
You have,
20 seconds, John.
when there's 1 minute left on the...
Yours is done.
Put the hat... Put the tie...
Touch me!
Yeah, I've gone mad. Oh, I thought it had to be in one thing.
No, 10 seconds.
It says it has to be in one. No, it doesn't. Dara. I've just lost it.
Yeah, that's your time up.
Why did you do that?
John just
I
went
swear
mad.
to God. No.
I dug that for ages.
You threw all of the sand out.
There's so much fucking sand
Don't do more.
Please.
You've just thrown all the sand out. I can't believe you threw out all the sand.
When I watch that back, everything is going through my head. Trip over, collapse. But because you've got this time ticking, and obviously those two haven't got a clue what I know, your head is an absolute bin fire. I started really worrying about it when Fern started filling the hat with sand. Looking back though, me knocking over the hat, me then nudging it with my foot, although Dara's laughing, because Fern can't see this, I wonder what's going through his head. But it helped maybe that it was the first time he'd met me, because he just thinks, well, this guy's just... This is my ultimate episode. In the first task, I've been called a prick. And in this one, I've got another guy calling me thick. Now for one I don't think I've seen since it broadcast.
Snort.
Then blow a raspberry.
Then whistle.
Then repeat that sequence for 1 minute.
Snort, raspberry, whistle.
The most completed sequences when...
Your time starts when you next snort. I can't whistle, but, you know.
You can practice whistling before snorting.
Oh, you'd love that. Oh, gotta do it quick.
Keep forgetting the order. It's just a long minute. Is this longer than a minute?
You got 10 seconds.
Oh. You were taking the piss. Don't know what happened there.
Alex told me that that was one of his favourite tasks ever. He said that summed up the show, and I agree with him. It makes sense because there isn't much silliness in comedy anymore, and that kind of sums up, I think, why everyone who loves Taskmaster, it's why they love it, because it's just silly and stupid and fun. What was that? 30 seconds? That went on for so long. I remember thinking, nah, we're doing longer than a minute here. So yeah, good memories of that one. Also, I like the idea that my son will grow up and, you know, I'm sure he'll be extremely embarrassed at what I do for a living between the ages of, I don't know, 14 and 25. But, you know, when he's older and he goes, you know what, fair play, he made a living out of that, he can watch that clip and be like, well, my dad was no fool. He got paid to do that. I still can't whistle to this day, though. I don't know why. Why would I do it again?
Print, laminate and distribute the most signs.
Each of your signs must be placed on a different seat.
And all your signs must have a different instruction.
You have 20 minutes.
Your time starts now. How long does it take to laminate a sign, or what size does the sign have to be? Is there a standard size for laminated signs?
So we start off with a simple one. Don't sit down.
Turn your phone to silent. I mean, anything's an instruction, isn't it?
It's just blanked out the document. Now the document's gone to tiny font. This is what? I don't... What?
It's quite nice to look at fonts now and then.
Yeah. What font have you gone for?
I've always liked Georgia.
Where's print? There's a picture of a printer somewhere. Is that how these things work?
So you're looking for a picture of a printer?
I'm looking for a picture of a printer. Changes the diary invite. Where's print?
I haven't seen some of these fonts since I was about 10. Joker Man. Look at this.
What's that thing middle-aged women have on signs? Live, laugh. Jen?
My mate, out of nowhere, last week, put in the WhatsApp group, fonts as cheeses. Arial, cheddar. Then he just left it. I then did a gig at the Cambridge Comedy Festival. 900 people. I'm dying on my arse. I think, right, fonts as cheeses, let's go. Comic Sans was like Baby Bell. Somebody then shouts out Wingdings because of this. And also, it ended on someone shouting out Georgia, which I said was like a manchego. And interesting that I say in this, I like Georgia. This is what Taskmaster fans are like. They'll come see you live, they'll think, oh, I don't like that. But I'll tell you what I do like, when you reference you're on Taskmaster. Right, wingdings.
I feel so productive, even though this is very silly.
Do these things separate? They separate! The factory is now open.
Do you know what that says? Bums only. I can't remember what the other two meant.
Little something extra.
Obey all your signs.
Highest percentage of signs obeyed wins.
You have 3 minutes. Your time starts now.
Good luck.
But I can't.
Okay. Watch out for burglars. Burglars. I thought you were kidnappers.
Well, that's your seat. So could you sit there? The Joker man's seat. So we'll wait for him to turn up.
Eat 25 grams fibre a day starting from now. Where's my sandwich for lunch?
Munchak deer. Oh, tigers. The Gruffalo.
Yeah, I mean, I've walked straight into this. How is the Gruffalo a direction? He got away with murder on this show.
Warm your bum.
Get your arse off. This is not on this. Here come the police. Run away.
Leave your husband. Oh, I'm not married. Run. Warm your bum.
I'm typing in the word bum because I remember writing.
Right, you've got 38 seconds.
That is not. It changed. I'm pretty sure it changes.
So I've done them all.
You finished?
This the old Toby thing not to do with to watch out for stuff. Munchak deer.
Yeah. I definitely wrote home. Yeah, it does change. Someone on Twitter told me this. Wingdings changes every single time you type something in. The idea of me trying to translate from wingdings is impossible. Like it's built to be impossible. You need like Alan Turing or something. I definitely wrote home. Right, that's bollocks. That apparently is home in wingdings.
You've got 1 minute left.
It makes sense now why someone in Cambridge 3 years later is shouting wingdings at me.
What's the word? Would it bifurcate into 2 separate poos?
You've got 5 seconds, John.
Yep. Done. In my old job, I used to have to laminate a lot. So when I saw that laminator, I knew exactly what I was doing. I got distracted by the fonts. Looking back, I should have picked one I can read. I was out of the house environment. So, you know, we were in Gatwick, which was mad because it was during lockdown and they hadn't reopened the North Terminal. And actually I've flown from there a number of times since. And I do wander back to those seats and think this is where I read Wingdings for the first time. And then I stand where I threw toilet roll. So Gatwick will always have a special place in my heart. Not necessarily the good place in my heart. Maybe the bad, not brilliant place.
Communicate the other team's animals to your team members by saying the letter that comes before it in the alphabet over and over whilst doing an impression of that animal.
I think John should do that.
I'll give it a go.
Wait, there are animals. I know all them.
Yeah. So, John, please make your way over to the other spot. Yeah.
He has a point. He has a point.
K.
Lemur.
K.
Line. Line is correct.
N. N. All
Right,
Orangutan.
Elf.
Monkey is correct.
B.
Cat. Correct.
Whale. Whale. Water buffalo.
I shouldn't give clues, but this is the shittest impression I've ever seen.
Still got 1 minute, John. Pass. OK, he's used to pass.
Shark.
It is a shark.
G.
Horse.
Wonderful, yes.
B. B. B.
Carp.
B.
Crocodile. You've got 5 seconds, John.
J.
Koala bear. It is a koala bear.
The haunting cry of the wild wolf.
I picked that because, again, a bit like Wingdings, V follows me around. I've had people shout V at me in the street, and it has taken me a while to work out why. How are they not getting that? Well, I'd like to see him do it. I mean, what else are you doing? Like, because also if you start prowling round, they're going to think you're anything. It was about the immediate. I thought of a wolf howling at the moon, shouting V. The reason why I've picked this one is I remember thinking I've done well there, and I've been let down. How are they not getting crocodile? Watching that back, I'm stunned. Like, what else is that? What is that? I'm staring at my face, screen grabbed at the end of this clip. I look like I've run a marathon. I'm absolutely shattered. That suit doesn't fit me anymore. I know that. Barely fit me there. But I'm exhausted by that. A gallant effort. Shattered by the experience. In all honesty, I'm not surprised that I've picked as many tasks as I have there with my fellow teammates, because at the end of the day, they made it all worthwhile. So thank you to Fern, thank you to Dara, thank you to Sarah and Munya. An experience of a lifetime. Well, there we go, my ultimate episode of Taskmaster. Not that many highs, plenty of lows, but that's the point of the show. If you enjoyed it, all of Series 14 is available on YouTube now.
For more Taskmaster, subscribe now.